3 years ago, I built a cedar fence along what I believed was the back line of my property in Maple Grove, a tidy subdivision just outside Denver. My wife Susan was 6 months pregnant with our first child, and I wanted the yard safe for the dog and future kids. The posts went in straight, the rails level, the city inspector signed off. Neighbors complimented the craftsmanship. Life moved on. Then one Saturday morning at 7:30 sharp, Helen Baxter marched across my lawn with a laser measurer, a clipboard thick as a phone book, and the righteous certainty of a woman who had never lost an argument. Helen was president of the Maple Grove Homeowners Association, the kind of neighbor who power washed her driveway twice a month and filed noise complaints about wind chimes. "Your fence is 14 inches over my line," she announced before I could finish my coffee. "Remove it by Monday, or the fines start at $500 a day." I set the mug down and stepped onto the porch. "Helen, that fence has been there since before we bought the place. The city approved every permit. Deeds get updated," she replied, tapping a glossy survey map. "My husband Walter works in county planning. He found discrepancies your realtor missed." She raised her phone and started recording. "This is for the official violation file." Susan appeared in the doorway, one hand on her belly, eyes wide with the kind of worry that had been keeping her up at night. Helen noticed and softened her voice just enough to sound concerned. "Shame to stress a pregnant woman, but rules protect property values for everyone." She left a stake in the grass with orange paint slicing through Susan's vegetable garden and a note that read proposed corrected line. 5-day compliance. HB. Inside, Susan sank onto the couch. "Jim, the doctor already warned me about blood pressure. Maybe we just move the fence and be done with it." I looked at the straight cedar boards catching the morning sun and felt something harden in my chest. This wasn't about 14 inches. This was about whether one neighbor with a clipboard and a county connection could rewrite reality. I called our realtor, Margaret Evans. She swore the fence sat 3 feet inside our line and had walked it with me the day we closed. But she didn't keep copies of 30-year-old surveys. Why would she? My old college roommate Paul Grant, now a property attorney in Boulder, told me 2 things. First, anything standing more than 3 years enjoys adverse possession protection in Colorado. Second, get my own survey yesterday. I hired Gregory Lang from Lang & Son Engineering. His father had platted Maple Grove in 1984. Gregory promised to be on site at 8 the next morning with GPS gear accurate to the inch. Helen showed up at 7:45 with her own expert, Victor Klein, a county colleague of Walter's. While Gregory located the original iron pins and concrete monuments, Victor produced a 1987 plat revision, complete with county seal and signatures, showing the line shifted exactly 14 inches on a Helen's side. Gregory's tablet told a different story. "Your fence is 2.8 feet inside your deed," he said. "You could move it closer if you wanted." Victor sniffed. "Those pins look like replacements. Metal composition doesn't match 1984 standards." Gregory's eyes narrowed. "Those are my father's pins. Depth, pattern, GPS coordinates, everything matches the archive." Helen smiled for her phone camera. "We'll let the county decide." That night, she called an emergency HOA meeting. The community center smelled of burnt coffee and old carpet. Helen presented blown-up photos, the 1987 plat, and a timeline of escalating violations. The board, 2 retirees who hated conflict, voted to give me 30 days to prove compliance or start removal. Fine suspended for now. Walking home, I noticed the concrete monument half buried beside Susan's tomatoes. I photographed it from every angle. If that marker was original, Helen's story collapsed. Gregory texted at midnight. "Found something odd in the county vault. Meet me before the follow-up hearing." The vault clerk, Dorothy Simmons, had worked there 40 years. She showed me the access log. Walter Baxter signed in 8 times in the last 4 months, always requesting Maple Grove files. No record of any 1987 revision existed in the official index. Dorothy lowered her voice. "Helen's been asking about boundaries since 2020. Sheds, driveways, decks. Always wrong, always confident." Gregory pulled archival photos from 1984. There was my fence line, staked exactly where it stood today. No revisions, no shifts, no easements. The follow-up hearing packed the room. Neighbors whispered. Helen arrived with Walter, Victor, and a lawyer in a cheap suit. She framed me as the honest homeowner misled by bad paperwork. The board looked ready to fold. Dorothy took the microphone first. I've seen Helen pressure 5 families into expensive changes based on claims that never held water. Here are the logs, the photos, the canceled checks. Gregory projected side-by-side images. 1,984 stakes versus today. Identical to the millimeter. I laid out the timeline. 4 months of research, a forged plat pulled from thin air the day after my survey proved her wrong. This isn't a boundary dispute. It's extortion with fake government paper. The room went quiet. Then Eleanor Brooks, 78 and sharp as ever, stood. Helen told me my husband's memorial garden shed violated code. I spent $8 grand tearing it down. Harold built that shed the year he died. The dam broke. The Millers lost $12,000 relocating a legal deck. The Garcias abandoned a kitchen remodel over a driveway that measured perfect. Total damage across the room topped $50,000. County Inspector Lawrence Reed, who had quietly reviewed everything, cleared his throat. Number 1987 revision appears in any county record. I'm recommending criminal charges for document forgery and abuse of office. Helen tried one last spin. Honest mistakes in complex regulations. Dorothy held up a request form. You asked for seal placement examples and signature samples. That's not research. That's rehearsal. The board voted unanimously to remove Helen from all positions, lifetime ban from service. Lawrence froze Walters County access pending federal review. 2 weeks later, surveyors measured Helen's own yard. Her deck jutted 18 inches into the setback. Her shed lacked permits. Her fence crossed the utility easement by 6 inches. Fines totaled $1,500 plus mandatory removal. Susan gave birth to our daughter Lily on a warm May morning. Eleanor brought a cedar plank from my fence, engraved with Lily's name and the date. Your line held, she said. Now it holds her future. Helen and Walter pleaded guilty to fraud charges, served 2 years, and paid full restitution, $120,000 across 15 families. The HOA rewrote bylaws. Every violation now requires independent survey before enforcement. No board member can cite adjacent properties, and any resident can demand free review. I still walk the fence line at dusk. The cedar has silvered nicely. The concrete monument sits exactly where it did in 1984, proof that truth, measured in inches and decades, outlasts any lie printed on official paper. What about you? Ever watched a neighbor weaponize rules until the whole block paid for peace? Ever stood your ground when giving in felt easier on the family? Drop your story below. Tell me where you draw the line between keeping the peace and fighting injustice, especially when the bully hides behind a badge or a binder. I read every comment.